What is up, guys? Samo here, and today we're going to be going over one full year of works. I've drawn every single day for a year since last year, September 10th. Every day I haven't missed one drawing session. I've drawn something, at least one thing every single year since September 10th of last year. And we're gonna hop right into it. I'm just gonna go quickly through a lot of the sketches. There are gonna be some really ugly ones because I saved everything. Some days are, at least from a digital perspective, there are some days that I did skip because I did a piece traditionally. But I would have to go back and find the traditional work there. So just take my word for it. There's more than enough sketches here that covers way more than a 365 anyway. As you can see to the top left, there's 786 images here. And as you can see for the bottom, these right here were all before September 10th. This one right here starts on September 10th of last year. So yeah, let's hop right into it and show you guys what I was practicing and stuff. This was kind of like just the start. One of the first images that I pieced together. Just something to practice a little bit to get my mind flowing. Another one just to get my mind flowing. You can see some of the jagged edges here. One thing that I think this actually helped me with is to understand the complexity of digital works. For instance, the shading here is something that I would take even further into some of the newer pieces that I've made. Not even just that, but even with the sketchy line work, I've kind of fixed that up a little bit using a stabilizer, which is fine. I love it. It makes my art look a lot more cleaner, which I really enjoy. And being able to utilize some of like the hatch work that you see here, but just in a better way later on down the sketches, I think helps so much. So yeah, as you can see, some of the problems that I picked up, some of the problems here in some of these early sketches, actually because I was drawing so much, I learned how to evolve or to get better at what I wanted to see, right? So it's not to say that I didn't like these jagged edges or how dirty the sketches was. I just wanted something better. So yep, I'm just gonna speed through some of them here. These all happen with the span of I think the first week or so. I really like this sketch. Well, side note, I really do like this sketch. The horns came out immaculate. I like the texture that I kind of gave the sketch. One thing you'll notice too is I start moving away from these kind of harsher, thicker lines, and I start adding a lot of weight to my lines later on, and start um, adding asymmetrical line works later on. So yeah, that actually helped kind of pop a lot of my characters out a lot more. One thing that you soon see is that a lot of the newer sketches can actually hold up whether they have color or not, and that's something that I was struggling with a lot in the early stages of this practice, where a lot of my just plain line work, it looked okay, but when it had color, it really looked good. I didn't like that. I wanted both pieces to be able to stand alone. So I wanted people to be able to see a line work and be like, "Ooh, that's cool," but then see it with color and say, "Ooh, that's cool." So yeah. So as you can see, he's still practicing here, using some of these harsh lines. One thing too is a lot of these earlier sketches they took quite a time. You'll notice these sketches adding a lot of these textures and stuff like that. I think was pointless. One thing that it actually did teach me is not to over. Later on, you'll notice this. Not to over not to focus too much on the details of the shading and stuff like that to make certain textures and stuff, because sometimes it come out like this where it doesn't necessarily look it looks too flat. So I'm glad that I kind of fixed that later on. This was a so side note, I'm going to go over some of the pieces that I actually really enjoy, and something that some of them may hold some special significance to me. This is a piece that I made for my mom, my late mother. She really liked elephants, and I kind of forgot that as I got older, and I just felt like I wanted to make something for her. So I drew this elephant and I actually made it into a T-shirt. So if you guys want to check out my Printify shop, it should be in the description, I believe, or in my YouTube channel description. So yeah, this was a homage or a tribute to my late mother. This was the first sketch that I did for it, and then I believe, and this was also something I did for her as well. This is actually my symbol that goes in front of the shirt. So I really like the symbol. It's supposed to be kind of like a pseudo heart, but I never actually talked about this. There's an inspiration that goes. There's a certain inspiration that went with this was I was trying to do I was looking at what is it called, Mickey Mouse, and the simplicity of Mickey, and I wanted something similar to that kind of silhouette that Mickey had, and so I used that kind of ideology and was like, okay, so let me represent something like that, and so I came up with this little character. It's supposed to be a heart with eyes, and then the little two things, the little two hairs at the top. Kind of like a symbolic meaning for me. I really enjoyed it. You know, and then this is the next step of that previous piece, for the final result for it, where I make the trunk a little bit more wiggly. Like I said, I really enjoy this. This was a tribute to my mom, and I really did like it. Again, there's a T-shirt on if you guys want to support. I appreciate it. Some of these pieces do have T-shirts connected to them, so if you guys want to check it out, I don't really talk about some of the shop stuff that I have in the merch, but a lot of that stuff does help a lot. You can get stickers on it. So yeah, I hope you guys if you guys like the work, please feel free to check out the shops. Some of these pieces are just me going over the motions, practicing a lot of the textures and stuff like that. As you can see, these lines are a little jagged. I have a shaky hand. That's why right now I'm starting to use the stabilizer, or rely on the stabilizer a lot more. It's just quicker for me, especially someone who wants to like pump out a lot of content for you guys. You know, this was one of my favorites. I really enjoy this. I like. I want to practice more on some of my future sketches, using like the same one color. So like here it's green, but then the different greens, or the two different greens kind of like overlap. Really like this piece. I might actually recreate this piece in my newer style. So let's see. Another piece I like this. This kind of pops up later on too with the eyes. Not my finest work. You guys would notice I start getting a lot better. So yeah, here's another one. This was a practice sketch for one of my characters. Just wanted to practice the line. As you can see, I was practicing the line work, like having an outline first and then doing the details on the inside. Just another piece. Some of these might be a little bit boring. There's no story surrounding most of them. It was just me practicing. Now we're going into like some of the fan art and stuff like that, where I'll go over this real quick. I wanted to practice a lot of the cell shading, and you guys will notice later on that I start utilizing cell shading a lot. I really like it, and I think it's a good tool for me to personally have. I do enjoy the kind of realistic shading, but the realistic shading can sometimes take a while, and I just prefer, if I'm trying to pump out content, I would just prefer to do the cell shading because you can get a similar effect with less less effort. Not necessarily less effort, but you can get farther with it. Um, so yeah, this was cell, second form cell, which I really enjoyed doing these. I wish I would have had the stabilizer on because as you can see, a lot of the lines are shaky. Um, so yeah, I really like this one though. It came out really good. Toriyama does such a good job where with the coloring and the way, because some of these were referenced from his direct pieces. I think this was from the anime, but I still goofed it up because he looks like Kid Cell. This was from the manga. This was from the manga. So I try to color match their actual colors as well. This was actually a really good one. I really enjoyed doing this. Again, if it wasn't for the shaky hands, I, this would have been 100 times better. But it came out really good. I enjoyed it. It's probably one of my favorite pieces of the past year. One of another one of my favorite characters in Dragon Ball, Janemba. I love this dude. I could have done a better job, but for what he is, he looks really nice. Another Janemba, Cell, Cell Max. Really enjoyed this one. Came out amazing. Again, I love the character design for a lot of Dragon Ball characters. Sometimes they're just too good, man. Dragon Ball is my favorite series. Now, this one I will say is one of it taught me a good amount, especially with when it comes to drawing hair and when it comes to drawing hair and the kind of neck area of specifically Toriyama characters. But this was just an amazing. I'll start like you'll notice later on. I do start utilizing kind of the same hair foundation that Toriyama uses, but it's just because I feel like I flow with it so well. So yeah, as you can see, this is Bojack. Good character design. Again, a lot of Toriyama characters are so um, drawn so well. It's amazing how these characters were made in like the 80s and the 90s and they still hold up today in terms of like how they were created. I really enjoyed this. But as you can see also here, especially with the last couple ones, I was utilizing a lot of the cell shading that they used in the anime, and not so much in the manga. So a lot of these references were from the anime. Oh. So now we go into Frieza. This one's kind of derpy, but then just practicing the cell shading here. Similar with this one, shaky lines, but that little kind of thing on his head, that was a really interesting practice because as you can see, they use so many, and this was from the anime. They use so many different shades to get this kind of spherical look, and that is so cool. So there's one, two, three, four, five different colors of like this purplish thing, this purplish tint, and it makes it look so. I don't know how to explain it, but this is why I was practicing a lot of the cell shading and I was doing this a lot because it's so interesting how they can utilize these colors to create this weird texture with just simple shapes like that. And so yeah, a lot of this was just the learning experience for me. Things that you would know if you know if somebody told you about them, but if you don't practice, you won't necessarily understand. Similar with here, as you can see, there's this one has less colors, but or one less, one, two, three, four, or one, two, three, but it's still really interesting to see how all these colors and how you can still get that depth of color with just a slight variation in the tone. So as you can see on the left top horn, there's three types of grays there, but it looks like it's just one solid like item, which it is, but the allusion to it is so interesting. Again, I really like these kind of practices. And here we go with another Frieza, the final form. Amazing. I really enjoyed this, had a lot of fun. I do draw him later on, but I think that one's done without a reference or without a direct reference. These were done with all references. Similarly with this one, I don't personally like it. I think I should have just grabbed this and turned it to this. I think chin is too weird, but all right. Black Clover character, one of the demons. Wanted to practice, take my shot at the art style that mangaka creates, and I think I did a good job. But this was from the anime, so yeah. Anytime you see me do like kind of these cell shading things, it's either from a manga or manhwa. If it's and then sometimes it can be like it's a manga, but I'm utilizing cell shading from the anime to fix to piece it up together. From the anime or Dragon Ball, this was Frieza's father. Another practice sketch. I want to do something similar to this, but again with kind of the newer style. As you guys can notice too, there's a big kind of thing missing here. I don't add the side shading of it, so there's doesn't seem like there's a lot of depth to the character, which I want to kind of redo some of these earlier character sketches with. This was Deborah. Again, having fun with some of these cell shadings. Boo, Evil Boo, the uh, Super Boo, I think. No, yeah, Boohan right here. This was fun too. I like drawing Boo, Kid Boo here. Boo's always been one of those characters that I've always drawn. Even in my like early like even 20 years ago, Boo was one of those characters that I've always enjoyed drawing. Derpy, Deborah, no, Shenron. We got Piccolo, fun character to draw here. A more simple character of Krillin, which again I had really a good amount of time drawing this. This was fun. For something so simple to have so much depth in it, Toriyama is an amazing character designer. I don't, I can't imagine myself trying to come up with something so simple, but created with so much depth. I don't know what the hell this is, but I had fun drawing it. This is where I kind of get into more the harsher darks. So one thing that I think I should also preface this by is, from my point of view, these colors are different than what you guys are seeing. I don't know why. I think maybe it's the compression from the video editing software that I'm using, or maybe it's the compression of the videos and then the compression that YouTube does separately. But a lot of these pictures, from the way I'm viewing them, is going to be a lot different from the way you're viewing them. This is another piece that I kind of want to redo. Like, I kind of like the concept here, but this is also one of my favorite pieces because I think I went a little hard on it when it comes to like the highlights and the darker darks or the darker shadows. This would go amazing if I added like kind of like the shadow on the bottom right going up and then a bigger highlight at the top left. Yeah, kind of like that signature thing that I do to make depth on. This is one of my cooler characters that I think I created. This is with a what the fuck creature, another kind of what the hell creature. So we're getting into a lot of what the fuck creatures here. This was a practice sketch of a demon nun, I guess. But again, kind of like interesting. I like these characters a lot. I'm gonna probably speed through this because, like I said, there's like 700 of these images here that I'm gonna be going over real quick. Um, so, yep. These were actually practices for just helmets and masks and stuff. I just wanted to see if I could pull them off. So I looked at some references of knights and then added my little 2 cents to them. This was, you guys will see a better image of this, of like him having a body. I really enjoyed that image. I like this one too, but I think this one was just really cool as well. This one here, I was practicing. There's a video. Obviously, there's a video of almost all of these. I was practicing these little bounce light from the actual center, so I wanted the center to look like it glowed into the front of the mask. However, I now I'm doing a very much better job at doing this. So what I tried to do back here, I can now do it almost way better than I did it back then. This was actually the reference for this was actually one of my a Destiny 2 character um, that my character in Destiny 2. So yeah, this was one of his masks, but obviously I changed it up a good amount. It's a cool design. I like the helmet. Another just weird helmet. Another character. So I'm just gonna go through these until I get. This was a cool one. I like this motif of the halos kind of going around his horns. Um, this was annoying because I had to keep cutting the mask, or I couldn't use the symmetrical tool. Symmetrical tool just makes everything much easier. But it was a fun little design I made. A new character here, which was fun. I like this character a lot. I wanted to redraw it in a more three-dimensional kind of hyper realistic thing, which I'm probably gonna do later on, just not right now. But this was a fun little thing. This will probably come up in like one of the shorts later on. Um, that same character but with a body. Wanted to practice kind of the foreshortening of the front arms and stuff like that. So this came in handy when it came to like learning foreshortening. This was a fun little study. Drawing just a weird character here. Another demon character, more. This was kind of that, this was the base on the other one. Practicing the pants and the hands. Nothing too crazy. I have fun with it. Like I said, some of these do end up getting, so as you can see right here, it is a prime example. The shading got a little bit more texturized, and I got a lot better at using kind of the darker darks. I know a lot of people kind of criticize my work, saying like, oh, you want to move towards a lot of the other colors. However, again, I personally, like I mentioned before, I think that washes out the character. I think that these, for what I want the character to look like, this is a lot better. Now, sometimes you'll get stuff like this, which is like, what the fuck? Or twins, or something like this, where again, it's like, I don't know what I'm drawing here. This was a little fun. I enjoy kind of splitting this character up. Again, if I try to do these in like my newer style, I think they would be a lot better. So I might come back to these. Who knows? They look good though. I like them. Yeah, I gotta go back. Um, yeah, this was a fun one. I like this. I do end up turning this to a base model for another character or for a full body. Same thing with this. I really enjoy this one a lot too. I think these. I think no, this one's not a shirt, but this I think this one's a shirt. And a sticker too. This was fun. Like I said, these little things coming from the top. What I think they're not horns, but they're like just cartilage or bone coming out of it. The character that I made here, but these little kind of texturized things at the top was an interesting choice for me. Another interesting thing here, which I had fun with, kind of making that these things and where it's supposed to be like these eye looking things are sunken in more. Interesting creature. I want to redraw this one too. It's ugly. A lot of these are gonna be fails, but I really enjoyed uh, piecing them together. So now we go from almost no side shading here to now utilizing the side shading here, and having that bounce, that kind of high uh, light source coming from the top left. This was a practice sketch, and again right here, which was fun. Again, this is when I think I started to take the light source a little bit better and utilize it a little bit better. We have this character here, which is the same one from before. One of the other characters, same thing. Had fun here. Again, I like these practicing this kind of stuff. That same character. I want to, kind of utilize this character too. Give him more depth. I like that I gave him the pink veins coming out. Interesting. I have fun. This was another one. Again, a lot of fun with this. The mask is good. But like I said, this is where we kind of go from the two-dimensional aspect of these creatures now to kind of pushing into the three-dimensional, which again was fun and kind of trying my best to not use so many thick lines in the creation of these characters. I didn't, I'm not saying I did a great job here, but I tried. I think sometimes I mess up here where, as you can see, I don't add anything to separate the dark on the right, the dark shadow from the right side. So I don't add like a bounce light to his chin or to his neck to make it seem like there's a separation between light and dark. So, but I fixed that issue later on. Again, a lot of these, what I'm talking about when I'm talking about these types of things, I'm doing so to show you guys that this entire situation was like me learning more and more and more, specifically about digital art, because I haven't been doing digital art as long as I've been doing traditional work, and so especially when it comes to coloring, when it comes to traditional, you're kind of you don't have a lot of color choices. You only have the color choices that you have access to, right? So you can only do with what you got. When it comes to digital, the entire spectrum of colors is within your grasp. This was just a practice sketch, practicing the same highlights and things, and adding that little texture, uh, thing that I did before, but adding it here. Uh, Another character that I really enjoyed. Again, I want to recreate some of these, kind of add the bounce light and do a lot better job with these. I gave that eye creature, a body. I actually utilized a Spider-Man thing for this reference, which was fun. Again, there was an artist on TikTok. I think his name is Lednito. I think his name is. Um, and one of the things he said was, if you want to practice anatomy, you should practice Spider-Man, because like Spider-Man comics, he is basically all anatomy. And I kind of took that to heart and was like, I guess let me see if I can practice that. Now, again, did I already have a basic understanding of anatomy? Yes. And if you guys want to learn anatomy, I have a good amount of videos on here that'll teach you about anatomy. Um, Another fun little sketch with a character face. Uh, I used a base model for this. I want to go back and kind of fix it up a little bit, because I just copied and pasted his face onto the model, and I think I can do a better job here. This was fun. I want to get back into drawing these characters that like have these little slices on their limbs, kind of like Rain Man. I think that's a cool little design feature. This was a fun sketch. I don't know. There's just not much to say. I just enjoyed it. The shoes here though were a bit. I hated drawing these shoes. I don't like drawing shoes at all. Try to keep it simple, but I hate them so much. This was fun. I actually believe I have a sticker of the full body version of this, which will probably come up in like a couple pieces. This was a fun piece. I really enjoyed it. I don't know where I got the design from, but I had fun drawing it. Another piece that I really enjoy. I think there's might be a sticker or T-shirt of that. What else? Well, we have this character, which I think no. Okay, so I got this character, which I just sketched it out a little bit. I might recreate this one. I really like it again. Some of these, going back over this with you guys, a lot of these are actually really cool. I might, utilize them later on. And I created this with that. Fun little thing to draw. This took forever because the line works. Like, as you can see, I use a lot of hatching and line heaviness on the inside to denote the muscle strands and stuff like that. I don't want to do that again. This was a bitch to draw. I had fun, but I hated it. A little quick sketch of a practice sketch that I wanted to piece up together. This was fun. I might utilize this as a blank later on, but for now, that's what it is. Blah. I really, again, really enjoyed. Some of these I enjoy. Some of them I freaking hated so bad. This is kind of that thing. He is the architect, a creature of the void. Like I said, there's actually a sticker on my shop with this character on it. If you guys want to buy it for $2.50, I believe. Well, that's before taxes, the base price. So then you got this character, which was again a little fun. I kind of like these little realistic type characters like that. Another one, and these couple last ones, this one and this one were fun to draw. I don't know where I came up with these ideas, but what these characters end up being made into, I had fun making them. I want to do the same thing with this one, but I haven't gotten time to do it. So you get this character, which again, I'm going to redraw some of these, but with clothes, because TikTok tends not to like that I don't draw characters without clothes. So, another one here. But again, just practicing kind of non. Oh, what happened? Okay, so I actually talked about this one in a full length video, but just practicing using a 3D model, and I had fun. Wow, that did a good job here. I didn't notice the sword had so many highlights on it. Wow. We have this. This one was horrifying to make. I used her face here, and this was already terrifying. But then turning her into this thing is double terrifying. Oh my god, I make some weird creatures. The same thing with the other one, making this one. I don't know why I made their neck so thick. You have this character here, the base was fun to make. Well, I want to know why I stopped using the type of thing for the swords and stuff. That looks a lot cleaner. I need to bring this into the newer things. Yeah, these two characters are kind of my favorite character designs. I might end up bringing them in later on to a better thing. I think this kind of stance is really, really cool. Or the pose, not the stance. I want to do something with this. Yeah, I'm just gonna speed through a lot of these because, like I said, there's like 700 images here, and I don't even think I've covered even a portion of how many are here. Uh, so yeah, you got this one, just a character. I based this model actually off of a Bardock pose from Dragon Ball Super. So I don't think I did that great of a job. Then I just changed his face and gave him a mask. And then we have my little, you know, character here, the Madman. Fun little drawing practice. This is a piece from like from a while ago. Not the S piece, but the creature it's based off of. And I just wanted to kind of make it into. This was kind of the first attempt that I had on making these weird three-dimensional characters or the weirder flat characters into more of a three-dimensional thing. And this is what I really like. This one. This was kind of like me pushing my what I've learned so far into this realm. As you can see, I don't have any lines here. I just use the shadow. Um, However, this does kind of change with a lot of future things. This was the second attempt without line work. Again, I do kind of get a lot better later on. And as you can see, a third attempt. This was one of my favorite ones. Like again, going from something like this, like these to this was an interesting um, practice because I want to kind of go away from the harsh lines, which I will do eventually here. This was another one of them, but as you can see, I still utilize the lines, just you can't really see through them. Same thing here. These get a lot better too. Fun little character. I based this off of one of the villains from Black Clover. This was his pose. I make something later on in here that's kind of similar to this. But I personally think the one that I did recently is better than this one. Actually, the video comes out today with this video, so that short is gonna be popping up with you with this one. This was January 1st. Like I said, I'm just gonna pop through these a little bit. So what was that? Interesting one. I like. This is where I was starting to get a lot better with the lineless piece of shading and stuff like that. I do get a lot better at it and a lot more efficient. This was a reference based on Yuji from JJK. I just added a little bit of artistic, liberties here. Obviously, giving him a horn and doing whatever to his eye. So yeah, there's not that much to say about some of these characters. Like I mentioned in one of my other videos, um, they're not really that crazy. A lot of them are gonna be bad. Some of them are gonna be good, and everything else is in between. This was an attempt at drawing. I'm still getting a little bit used to drawing like these types of characters with realistic hair, but then also having uh, realistic shading. I gotta still practice that. This is one of my characters. What's his name? Obi, number 12 from Evo. This was a what the fuck character. This is supposed to be a creepy character. Again, I'm still lacking that little bounce shade here, or that bounce light, which I'm giving it like to characters like this and like these characters, but I'm not giving it to characters like this, which sucks. Oh, this is number 1, Unknown. Number 2, Dima. This was a reference by me. That's me. Well, not me, but me. I use myself as a reference here. Also, myself as a reference here. This is number 3. What's his name? I forgot his name. But it's number 3. Number 2 and Unknown. Number 1. This was Side Demon, but I want to recreate this one too. I really like it. Like the bounce light. Any of the characters that have like these visors in the front of their face, I really enjoy them. Or even the ones that have these masks. That was a recreation of that one or the other one, but I wanted to kind of pose this. I did a shitty job here because I tried to keep everything normal, but I didn't flow Dima into number 1's arm properly, and I should have gave them pants. Like one thing I also learned here is that clothes can really, really like not hamper. They can really do justice to hiding bad anatomy or the lack of flow within anatomy. Because sometimes anatomy is stiff by nature, because we're drawing like two-dimensional things just standing there. So because of that, clothes can have a kind of flowy feel or add a flowy nature to the characters. Uh, this was a reference of Solo Leveling Ragnarok manhwa. This was when the sun is going through a portal. This is from that still. Not a bad job again practicing that kind of shading. This is, you guys know this, it's Gojo practicing just from the anime. Vegeta, I really enjoyed this one. I could have did a better job. The freaking shaky ass uh, line work pisses me off, but I did good here. I like this a lot. Uh, One of my favorite characters from Fire Force. I really enjoyed this one. This was fun. Doing the little eye thing was fun too. This is where I started to get a little bit better at kind of doing that bounce glow and stuff like that. This is where I started paying attention to how that glow happens. This was fun, little practice. From, what's that series called? Kaiju number 8, Kafka. Obviously, this is One Piece, Luffy, Gear 5, Zoro. Uh, Damn, I was gonna say Asta. Fire Force. I forgot his name, but the main character from Fire Force. Really like the series a lot. This is Demon Slayer, of my characters, more characters. And I'm still only like, I think this is only 300. This was fun. I really enjoyed drawing the little bounce light that happens on this guy's glasses. This is probably one of my favorite characters, and I've been struggling not to recreate him because I'm scared that I'm going to mess him up. And it's like I like this character so, like, this character is one of my like favorite characters that I've ever drawn, up until, not even up until this point. He's just literally one of my favorite characters. He just looks so freaking cool, but I'm terrified of messing it up. I'm terrified of making another version of this character that I'm just like, that doesn't live up to how I feel about this character. This was just such an amazing practice here. I love it so much. Again, like when I say I love some of my works, this is like probably my favorite pieces that I've made. And it's so simple, but it's so good. I even tried to recreate it here, the same feeling. I just couldn't. That's how good that other character is. This was a little fun practice. Again, as you can see, I'm practicing more and I'm giving my characters kind of more realistic eyes. Um, Practicing a lot of that bounce light on the bottom right or the right side just to bounce off the light a little bit. But this gets a lot better later on. This was a fun design too. I actually keep using this on my traditional work because it's fun. But this was good. I like this one a lot too. This, I don't know where I got this one from. I think it was some manhwa that I was reading. Just practicing. But I don't think the shadows were the same. I think the shadow was something that I made. Because if I'm not mistaken, the manhwa was in a 2D kind of style where it was not using the same shade as I'm using here. Sorry. And obviously I gave him a horn. I think that was a villain or something. Just more character designs. Wow. I use a base for some Pinterest base, but I use it as a reference. And I made the character. And there's a video that I use this in, that I've made for this. This was fun. This was another aspect of using that kind of his hand to bounce the light, and you can see the red shining off of his body as he's like kind of powering up the red. This was fun. I enjoyed it. This was kind of the start of me giving my characters more expression faces. So other than like being like this or obviously creepy as hell. This was a reference to a character or to a Pinterest blank. Um, that was fun to do. I used the same one of my characters, and I actually wanted to use this to practice um, the foreshortening of a character coming towards the camera or towards the viewer. And I think I did a good job. Obviously, you can see at the bottom, I didn't give him pants or anything. I didn't, like I said, that wasn't the focus. The focus was drawing this top portion and practicing how a fist coming towards the camera is going to be um, coming towards the camera. And I do utilize this type of technique because I learned it here. I utilize it later on down the line in, um, I think, one of the shorts that come out today, actually. This was the hair that I did here. I like the texture. It was fun. I like the eyes too. This was, I don't even know. I was just drawing and then it went from that to like this. This was fun. Uh, I like the weird gloss that the character's body has. Really interesting. I want to get back into this, but I want to do it um without the line works. This was, damn, I kind of want to keep doing these again. I really enjoyed having these like glossy muscle, not glossy muscle, but see how like the top has this highlight on it and then the bottom gets darker, but then there's so many of like these indentations of the shadows. I want to get back into doing stuff like that. That was fun. I like that. It's cool. I know how I did it, but it also creates this darker thing that I don't necessarily like too much. This was a fun thing. Again, this is probably another one that I have a problem with. Like, I want to recreate it, but I know that the recreation isn't gonna compare to the way this looks because I essentially struck gold for one piece. What did I draw? This was a reference to. Oh, this was a blank on Pinterest, I think. And I just gave the character stuff that my character would look like. This was supposed to be a casket in a grave. Um, I think I did a good job. I didn't use a reference here. So I was trying to draw, study from the top of my head. I think I did a somewhat good job. I think you can tell what it is, but I didn't like it and I didn't post a video of me making it either. I think I deleted the video. But yeah, this was a study. This was fun. This I used a reference from JJK. I believe it's one of the more powerful characters in JJK, the slot machine kid guy. This is his pose, and and I just grabbed it and made it into my own character. Um, it was fun. I liked it, and the shadow practicing this was really amazing. Gege Akutami does another one, artist who does such an amazing job at creating like flowing these, flowing his characters into certain pieces. So this was fun. I used a reference from this. I don't know what the reference came from. Sorry. But yeah, I created one of my characters and gave it a body. It was fun. But I wish I would have kind of lightened up the feet area because the formation of the character kind of looks like there's too many darks here. Like the purple and the things, you could barely make them out. So I wish I would have kind of did that a little bit better. This was a reference photo from the Baskerville manhwa. I was practicing the shadows. So this was a blank from Pinterest. Just wanted to practice the anatomy here. And this kind of feet thing where there's motion coming out of it, I wanted to practice that too. I did a shitty job here though. I could have did better because I kind of followed too much with what the character looked like instead of giving them realistic proportions or smoothness to the muscles. This was a practice for clothing, for a hoodie. This was just another practice. I wanted to practice with. I wanted to see the difference between practicing with line work, oh, with line work, and then without line work. I like the without line work a lot better. It's creepier. I like that. This is number 5, I believe. Number 8. This was one of my characters. I actually drew this from scratch. I enjoyed it so much that I actually continue to use this character. There's a couple characters that I just continue to use. He's actually, where is he? This character is actually based on this character. So yeah, they're the same character for the most part. These are actually recreations of one of my earlier pieces that I made digitally, and I wanted to see how my style has changed. And boy, oh boy, is it night and day. I like these so much more. Same thing with this one. And not only do I like them so much more, I think that these are just overall better to what I wanted those other pieces to look like. the same character from before that I said that there were multiple. This was that same thing, drawing the character more in movement. Again, practicing clothes though, right? I wanted to practice the folds of the clothes and the shoes and stuff like that. This is a long video. Just another practice. The way that some of these sketches I draw the depth of the mask being kind of like you can you can tell that the mask is a 3D form. I like that. I like that a lot. This was an old sketch, but then I colored it so the new sketch is a colored version of it. I like it. That's it. I just really like it. I like my skulls a lot. I have fun drawing skulls and creatures, whatever the hell I want to draw. This was a study for more shadows and shading. Similarly, shadows and shadings. Kind of newer attempt at the realistic point. But for some reason, I'm going to start practicing hair for the most part because I think hair is where I'm having trouble with. This is another mask creature. The Madman. This is when I started to kind of like push myself a little bit with drawing characters in poses and in clothes. I created this pose. It was fun. I had a lot of fun creating it. Another one where I had a lot of fun creating this character. The pose I made up. The clothes I made. Everything about these characters I made. These are like my original designs and I love them so much. This is where I could tell that I'm like actually getting better at creating, certain things. This was one of my demon characters, and then as you can see, that little character right there is the guy with the blue hair from before. He's fighting this monstrosity of a demon, and then he kills the demon. I wanted to again kind of draw this, kind of start drawing in my worlds, right? The where the void is and what it would look like and what all the characters are doing and stuff like that. This is one of my other characters with one of the other quote unquote demon characters. They're fighting against each other. This was fun. This was another thing where, again, everything here is I created. So the pose of the character, using his arms to block the knives, I made that. All this is my posing, no reference, just me drawing, these the way I wanted to draw it. And I think I did a really good job, you know. Um, is there some things I would change now? A little bit. I think I would add more bounce light, like purple onto the green and green onto the purple characters. And I think I would probably get a little bit more in depth with the ground, right? More practice, practicing shapes. I actually do recreate this later and it comes out a lot better. But I do like this one a lot too. This was another attempt at drawing my own character here. I really enjoy this. This was fun. Just drawing this. This one's gonna come up later, and I really do enjoy it because again, sometimes you'll get some of them that I'm like pushing myself to do things that I'm not comfortable doing. This is one of those things, which is one giving the thing a background, but also kind of just drawing the silhouette and then painting just portions of it because you don't need so many details. Like you don't need to know that that's a sword, right? You could tell just by the way it is. It's a sword. You could tell that these are wings, but I made them a little bit more noticeable. And you could tell there's some sort of knight. So I wanted to kind of get language down here, or shape language, to kind of allude to the fact that this is like a angel s knight, right? Practicing shapes, coloring. This was based on my characters from before. As you can see, I still use that Bardock pose, but I used my reference for the Bardock pose and gave him clothes. These two poses up here are from Pinterest poses, and then I just made them into my own and gave them, clothes and stuff. More practice, more practice, more practice. Madman. Just a lot of practice. So a lot of these are just practicing stuff. You know, that's what I'm doing most of the time. And then I kind of make something that I'm like, oh, I want to use that style for this. This was fun. But as you can see, I got a lot better here, which using the line, not using so much harsh lines. Actually, there is no black line here at all. It's just the character that's there. The same thing with this. There's no lines. Everything is just shadows. So, which is good because I was trying to. That's what all these practices were for, to avoid drawing like harsh lines. Because once you can establish that you don't need to use lines, using lines becomes a lot easier. You don't have to use so many lines to get your point across. You just need to draw kind of the lines that matter the most to whatever you're making. See, if you look at the difference between this one has no lines at all. It's just shadows. This one has a lot of lines, but the language is still noticeable. You could tell that the thing on top of his head is hair. You can tell that, he has eye bags. His neck is there's no need to do a lot of cross hatching or kind of doing the skin. The character is still just the character, and it's simple. That's what I wanted. That's what this whole thing was to like practice as well, is utilizing less lines to get the same effect that I was doing before. This was me practicing hands. These are my hands. Practicing cell shading with more shades. Just characters, cell shading. This was practicing manhwa pieces. It's from Solo Leveling. Solo Leveling. Dragon Ball. Demon Queen versus Hero. This was Solo Leveling. I like this because practicing on the eyes. This actually did help me draw eyes a lot better and get more comfortable. Not draw them better, just get comfortable at drawing them. Because I think that was my biggest problem with it, is I wasn't comfortable drawing eyes. Even though I like drawing eyes, I could draw eyes, any type of eye from any memory. I'm just not comfortable drawing the expressive version of eyes. But I do think that I end up getting a lot better with it. This was a still from JJK movie Zero. This was one of my characters that I drew, again practicing the little light bounce and everything. I did too much here, which again I kind of fixed this later on, where I'm adding so much highlights and so much shadow that doesn't necessarily need to be in certain places. Um, the Mad Demon, the Return of the Mad Demon manhwa, JJK, JJK still. This was another JJK still. This was Yuji, I think. Uh, this was JJK show. JJK, JJK. Just a character, just a character. I made this because I was practicing those little, cell shading for something like this. Something I think I didn't add enough lines here, but again, just practicing. This was my creation though. This was from a manhwa. I think I went over these, but this is from manhwa. I forgot what manhwa these were from, but I think it's lost track. Just practice. I like these characters. This character a lot. I like him. I think he might show up later on too. A reference of me. Uh, Yep, I just wanted to practice that, but that's me. And I did a good job here too. This is a 2D, not a 2D. This is a cell shading, but I utilized like myself as a reference for this. It's fun. This was another piece that I think I kind of grabbed all my knowledge and created something like this, which was really really fun to do. Probably one of my again another one of my favorite pieces I've made, because it's all something like this is no references, just me, right? Well, it is a references, but it's a reference of me. It was fun, fun to make. I liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun doing it. So yeah, I like the orange, the purple. Orange purple is my favorite color. So all types of purple and that orange is so good. I think this is when I started to actually get a lot better at the cell shading because I knew where I wanted the shadows to be. This is number 12, trying to kill one of the void creatures. I use as the base for this. I actually used a reference of Levi Ackerman from AOT. Um, it was fun. It was a fun little exercise to use practice for the lighting. Pretty cool creature thing. This was also fun. He's called the Visitor. Not much to say. There's actually a print of this and a book, I believe, that I'm selling in my shop on Printify. So if you guys want, your own personal piece for this character, you can go over there. There's a notebook, I believe, and a what else? I think that's it. I'm not sure if there's a sticker, or I think there's a print of this, and I think this one too, but I'm not too sure. But yeah, there's another thing. Again, kind of this practice of these two-dimensional and cell shading like thing style that I'm doing here. I really like it. It's kind of that thing that it's like I feel like it's me. It's my style. Same thing goes with here. I feel like this is me. This is my style. I love it so much. I need to recreate this because this is so cool. There you got that. And this is a recreation of that. Again, so cool. Love it. Love it. This was for a I actually sketched this out for one of my assignments for class. I didn't even have to do this, but I didn't like the idea of using AI, like generating an AI image for it, which the professor told us we could. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I just came up with this idea for this character, for this little short story that she had us read. So yeah, that's where this came from. Yeah, that. This was a political statement. Um, I didn't post this anywhere because this is kind of like for personal use. For me, this is something for me, not for anyone else. But this is kind of like, you guys might end up seeing some things that I drew only for me, not for content. This is one of those things where it's, I believe one of the titans from either Greek or Roman mythology eating one of his children. Uh, and I use that as a reference or base. And then I grabbed the guy from uh, I want you to join the army, to enlist in the army. Is that guy from the American thing, Uncle Sam, eating a person of color. I mean, it's self-explanatory. It is a very political piece. It's supposed to be a political piece. Um, as you can see in the background, the flag is torn apart. As you can see, everything here. He's leaning on his like the poster that he's in. So yeah, I I like this piece a lot. I think there's a print that I put on one of my shops, so you guys can check that out if you want to. This is all my characters. I use a base from Pinterest. So yeah, that's that's I forgot. Yeah, this one to the left. I'm always forgetting his name. The other two is Dima and Unknown. Another piece here. I think this might be. I'm not 100% sure, but this might be a print as well. I really had fun drawing it. A lot of these poses, when it comes to like having their hands move around like that, that's something that I made. Like it's my technique, just because I feel like any other pose is kind of boring. I just drew this. I was just goofballing around trying to learn more about the box method of like using perspective and stuff, and I mixed it with uh, cell shading. More pieces. This was one of the other characters, but I decided to do it in cell shading aspect, but then also, make it into a more cartoonish as creation. This is Sace with, 2D kind of things. 6. Um, that's his name. His name is, well, his number is 6, but his name is Seis. It's one of the characters for Evo. This is that. Another creature. Again, another weird pose that I just wanted to practice with 2D or, well, 2D slash cell shading. Just practicing the lighting. As you can see, I'm trying to use that bounce lighting to bounce off one of the things. So yeah, just practicing the bounce lighting here. Nothing too special. Again, something of the bounce lighting. As you can see, the top of it is purple. Practicing the kind of mixture between uh, 3D or like shading from a three-dimensional aspect, or adding the color from like kind of shade versus a harsh two a harsh shadow and light bouncing, right? Which you can see his mask has a little bit of purple kind of bouncing off of the energy that he's putting in the air, but then everything else is kind of the cell shaded, your normal cell shading. Same thing, except, well, not the same thing. This is different in terms of it's more 3D shading with the bounce light happening from the sword. This was fun. I liked it a lot. Mind you, this was in July. This was July 3rd, and I'm still rather far behind. Um, Practicing more shading. As you can see, I'm getting a lot better with the pants. Kind of getting used to drawing everything separately and stuff like that. This was fun. Don't know what the hell, but one of my characters, he pops up later on too. I enjoy this one. This is when I started getting to like more of the faces and like what I was gonna get into when it comes to drawing faces. One of my characters, another one, that's Obi. This is Health. He is kind of the another main character from another series, but the whole thing is wrapped around Evo. He's most of the, spoiler alert, a lot of the characters with the mask that you guys see a lot, primarily are like most of the time it's going to be him wearing the mask. The mask is like his power. So he can, as you can see, he can put the mask on and he becomes the creature that initially had the mask. So the masks all have powers and stuff like that. Um, so and then he becomes, the creature like this who's wearing the mask. So again, all the characters that you see with a specific mask on, they're more than likely going to be representations of him. However, the masks do tie into, the creatures themselves. So you can make the assumption that sometimes the creatures are going to be him, sometimes they're going to be, other, the actual creatures who own the mask or who are the mask. Same thing. So every time like a mask like this pops up, is him wearing the mask, or it's the creature who owns the mask who lives within the void. I enjoyed this one, and so I made this. This was fun. This was a fun little exercise. I practiced making, whatever creature I wanted to make, and then I was like, you know what? Let me turn this into a three-dimensional thing. I believed I used some. It was a model that I used for the, like, for the perspective of where they're looking, and then I just went over it, not like traced it, but I went over it with my own, design. So I used like the jaw lower, well, I used the whole thing, and then I used the lower jaw and the neck to kind of map out what I wanted to thing, and then I kind of viewed the shading and everything from there. um, so yeah, same thing with this, which is just a representation of thing. This was kind of harder though, because I don't think I can make, unless I have like a real model, or unless I do it myself or make it in real life, doing these little antennae from the top and having the visor. I don't think there's real representation, something real like that out there. So I'll have to do it myself. But yeah, you have this, another creature. This was the same thing from before, another creature. This is Seis, just standing there with a sword. Another type of thing here, same model. I noticed that thumb there. I was just a massive mistake that I didn't separate the fingers. Um, I also didn't feel like it. I don't even think no, because this was no. I was gonna say this wasn't even based on a reference, but it wasn't based on a reference. I didn't use a reference for this. I just had to draw it from my brain, and for some reason I was just like, I don't want to deal with the hand. But you know, it works. More cell shading. You got this creature here, same thing. This one pops up a little bit later. Oh, you have this character. This character becomes a main focus throughout some of my pieces. Actually, I think 2 days ago, I drew him and it was fun. Here's another one from the other one before with the three eyes. Cell shading, more cell shading. This is one of that character from before. There we go, right here. This is the one with the sword. Again, I draw him. The one I was standing on the tree. The same thing here. I really enjoyed this. It was fun. Again, a lot of these pieces, I'm drawing them. They're so fun to draw. And I'm just glad that I drew them. Another fun piece to draw here. Um, this is actually supposed to be one of the creatures that stands besides. He's like a stand in some aspects, but he helps one of the other main characters. So this was my attempt at drawing Vegeta and from Dragon Ball. I didn't like the way the face came out. At the time, I liked the way it came out, but for some reason, again, this kind of side view aspect of some of the characters I draw, I, there's something that I'm missing during the initial drawing that I'm not seeing later on. Like, I'm not seeing as I'm drawing it, I only see it after the fact. Um, this was Vegito. This was based on, I think, I don't even know what this was based on. It was a reference that I found and kind of turned it into my style. It's Goku Black, uh, uh, Vegeta Ultra Ego, Goku Ultra Instinct, Gohan, and then this was my attempt at it, and it was so dog shit. I didn't even try to change it. Jesus, this was so bad. Then these are all my character bases. So we're gonna start with these are like my OCs. I believe this is 9, 4, 8, 5. They all have their own names. Sace, you guys see him a lot. This is the character with the green, the kind of like the circle in front of his mask. This is him. This is another one of the characters. This was the attempt at this. So as you can see, like I couldn't draw this character the way I wanted to. This came out so goofy, I just had to toss it, and then I recreated it into this. But I had to use a reference for this because I just couldn't get the way I wanted her to look. Yeah, this is Dima. This is I used Toto from JJK as a reference, and got this character that I wanted. This is I don't know what reference I used for this, but this is number 1 or unknown. This is I use Boma as a reference, which you can see, but I use them as loose references, not actual like references or anything, just loose references, just to get what I wanted their faces to look like. I think this was based on Vegeta or Gohan. Um, Here's another one. Now here we go through some of my hand sketches. I really enjoy doing these. This was another face sketch, another one there. So I think this might have been, or these next few are the ones where I start actually emphasizing a lot of the line weight and kind of using that to kind of make the characters pop a little bit more, which I really like doing this. Another weird character design. Sometimes, like I said before, guys, not every piece. If you're trying to be an aspiring artist, not every piece is gonna be amazing. I'm under the thing of like I'm gonna post everything I draw just because it's kind of like it's both like a, 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 a time capsule of like my work and kind of like using the internet and stuff like that as a diary for me, but also obviously it's a job. So as you can see, like stuff like this is bad in my opinion. I could have done way better, but sometimes you gotta go through to get to the good. You gotta go through the bad. So more characters. There's a hand here with the thing I was practicing the lighting, as you can see. The bounce light from the greens on the knuckles. It was fun. Same thing here. Which I could have done better with the highlights. I mean the dark shadows there, but still. Just drawing. This was gonna be something I was gonna try to draw, but I wanted to try to see how I could draw like a character doing something cool, like a sword down strike. That's why that little character is at the top right there. So, but this was interesting. This was a fun little exercise. I want to try more of this. Then we go into the same character walking into like the fields of the void. More of this, more of this. This was interesting. I like this one. This one I really liked it because it pops a lot. The colors and everything are really interesting. So there's this one that I really like. Then there's this one which I had a lot of fun making. The coloring part of this was really interesting and fun. I liked how I made the eyes glow. And I did a video short and I edited this character and it was pretty interesting. I had a lot of fun doing it and practicing editing tools. Here's another creature. This is Obi and Sace, or 12 and 6. And this is just a little happy thing going on with them. They're like brothers, I assume. I guess. That's the best way I can explain it. They're brothers. Well, although the 12 are like brothers and sisters, it's a weird relation. It's not a weird relationship. But you, it's complicated. A lot of their stories are intertwined and they're all complicated. A character design, another character design. This, wish I did it a little bit better. I wish I did more of a dynamic perspective on it, but I did have a lot of fun kind of going into this trend of a character slicing up another character. It was interesting. I do this same thing later on, but I feel like this was kind of the deciding factor on like where I was gonna take it. This was fun though. I really liked it. This is a piece of a character that I did earlier, just practicing drawing clothes and stuff like that. This was just what the fuck, I don't know. Little goblin. This was a sketch. I don't know. It was a practice sketch of some manhwa. I forgot what it was though. Another manhwa scene from Mad Demon. Just another character. This was just a sketch that I did. I had fun doing this. Again, a lot of these sketches, when I talk about like having fun with them, it just means the journey to figure out what I wanted the picture to be was fun. The lighting on the hand and like kind of having this little ethereal light move around his hand was really cool. And then how his muscles on his right side are like glowing. I didn't intend for that, but I like the way it came out nonetheless. Everything here was, you know, for the most part purposeful, but also fun. As you can see, I kind of combined it. I combined both the cell shading and the regular shading. The cell shading for like his clothing, but then the regular three-dimensional shading for his skin and his hair. I think I'm gonna start utilizing that more because I really like that technique, and I think it does make the character pop out more, and it helps me too because I don't have to like keep going back and forth and trying to shade in clothes is sometimes in piece a headache. Same technique here, just a regular character that I made, but this is supposed to be the same character with the long hair, but just different colorway. Um, Ears. This is the same image, like similar to that same image I wanted to create, where I created a character slicing up another character. This was fun. This was interesting. The main character with the sword and stuff, that's based on a manhwa that I was reading at the time. And I just drew I mean, you guys seen, there's a short of me drawing the the initial sketch. And then this sketch pops up because I was having a thought of like, oh, I want to try this. And so I made a slice through the character and then created a character behind him. So it was fun. I like this. Here's another sketch. This was a recreation of a piece that I've seen. I did this piece like 2 or 3 years ago, um, but I didn't like the way it came out. So then I redrew it in like kind of my style. Um, it's some weird image that I found on the internet somewhere. But then I looked at my image of it, and then I was like, you know what? Let me recreate this. So I did this sketch over it, and or out looking over, I just moved everything around a little bit. Kind of gave her more of a puffy hair, added more hatches to like her skin so they look more thing. Made her mouth bigger and made her eyes like the eyes that I make. So I changed a good amount here. But this was still just a study for the cell shading. Then this one was a study for just clothing. I enjoyed this one. This one was fun. So is these other ones that were fun, but this helped me practice a lot of the clothing and where I wanted to see the foes come in. So I like this one a lot. Same thing, helping with the practice of shadows and stuff. Again, practice with shadows. Um, just a face. Oh, practice with more shadows. these ones like these I enjoy doing because it makes me it gives me used to the observing folds and stuff like that, especially silhouettes. I think silhouettes are such an important thing when it comes to drawing, that you always want to have like an interesting silhouette on anything you draw. And here we see the same problem that I was having before when it comes to my faces, where something is up with the chin, but for some reason I don't know why or where it happens. I think the sketch came out fine, but there's something while I'm drawing, I don't see it, and then when it's finished, and then I take a step back and I'm like, oh wow, something's wrong with his draw, and I don't know what it is. This is just another sketch. This is one of the other lower characters that I made. I had fun doing this. For some reason, drawing these types of characters with clothes on, it just feels better. I gotta get better at like fashion stuff, or drawing fashion stuff, because I think that'll be cool. Just another face, another sketch face. This was supposed to be Yuji, but I fucked up his eye, and it's the same problem that I was having before. But I don't think I messed up that bad. I just think that the reference photo that I chose only worked for Yuji and didn't couldn't work if I just did a face like this, because he was supposed to be in movement, but I couldn't get it down right. He's supposed to have a body, but it doesn't look right if it doesn't have a body connector, because you don't see where the rest of his body is supposed to be looking or moving towards. So, but it was fun. I liked it. This was a manhwa, but this character is not the manhwa. I just looked at it and recreated kind of the feeling of what the sketch was. The original from the manhwa, it was supposed to be like an ugly character, so I tried my best to like not make this character an ugly character. This is my character. I used a reference from someone's perspective rendition of, what's his name, the kid from My Hero, the main character. But they had like kind of a thing in the front of his face. I took that out and just kind of loosely based it on him, kind of just using the perspective aspect of it. They didn't have his mouth this big either. I kind of did all that my own. The eyes were not the same, but it was fun practice. This is something that I really really enjoy. I think this is a fun little sketch to go back on. Sketching some pants. Yep. And then this is another. This is actually 12. This is what he's supposed to look like. So yeah. I don't know. I think this was just my reference to him. I don't even think I looked at anything for this one. I could have, but I'm not sure. I found this manhwa-esque character. Well, the suit and everything, yes, but not the face. The face, obviously, I made, but the pose, yeah, I found it off of a manhwa. Still, but just again, just practicing, seeing how the folds work and stuff like that. I really like this one a lot too. Again, as you can see too, I've gotten a lot better in like giving my characters kind of life. I feel like a lot of these characters are feel real now, right? Like they don't feel like a lot of the earlier characters where they kind of fell flat. They felt like there was no soul in the characters. Now it feels like all my characters have like they can exist somewhere in some series out there. Same thing. This was I just wanted to practice a little bit on the perspective, force perspective, a little bit. Not that great. I don't think I did that great here. I think I could have done better, but you guys will see me do a little bit better on the last image of this year. This was kind of like a culmination of everything. I sketched out, there was this picture, a photograph, I think it was a photograph, and it was this guy with I believe he had a sword. I'm not sure if he had a sword or not. Um, but his hand was wrapped up and everything, so I had to redraw his hand and stuff like that. But I used his kind of what he was wearing as a base to draw this character. I had so much fun, and I want to draw more characters like this, and this kind of like samurai-esque thing. Wardrobe. This was so much fun. It's one of my favorite drawings I've done recently. Similarly, these are supposed to be the same character, especially like the one from earlier that was moving the purple glob. This is supposed to be him too. Again, another fun character to draw. I'm having a lot of fun drawing these like characters with faces, right? Making it feel like they exist somewhere. This was yesterday, I think. Also yesterday, and then now we're getting to the final one, which is today. Which officially, well, tomorrow makes a year, which would be um the Wednesday, the 10th. But you guys will see new videos popping up from the ones that are being made tomorrow too. So the final sketch is this one. So this one will pop up in one of the early shorts from this morning. And this was a really fun sketch. This is probably the culmination of everything that I was learning from before. This is kind of where that ends up at right here. This was so much fun to make. I made it pretty quickly. Something clicked in my head when I was thinking about drawing hands and forced perspective, and this was it. I was just sketching out. This was actually the initial sketch happened yesterday, and then the finishing product was today. But this was so much fun. Out of all the stuff that I've learned up until this point, this is probably, where I wanted to be, something similar to like this is where I wanted to be. I feel like I still have a lot to get to, or a long way to go, which I do, but this is over a year. This is such an amazing, just a year of practice of just digital work. Obviously I know I can be a lot better, but there's a difference between me creating these things and then me just copying the things. If I wanted to, I could just copy every piece that I see and just recreate it through copying it. I don't want that, right? That's not how you learn how to draw. I want to create my own type of things that look cool, way beyond what. But that takes practice. So as you can see, this is what practice can get you. Something relatively similar to this, probably better, but I got here just by practicing my style, not just copying people's style. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this long video, and if you did, drop a like, and please subscribe to the channel if you guys want more stuff like this. I will be doing another type one of these videos in maybe a year or so. More than likely every year I probably try my best to do another one of these videos. Um, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. If you did, drop a like. If you didn't, sorry, but maybe next time. And yeah, hopefully we can keep this going for another year. Thanks everybody for the support. I appreciate every 706 of you, 8 of you. Every single one of you is amazing, and I really, really am so appreciative of every single one of you who decided to subscribe to me. 709. And thanks everyone for the support. And yeah, see you hopefully next week. Have a good one, guys.